What all classes would you take up in school? What were some of the different subjects you had to learn there in the home school?
Well, by the time we got through, I've been trying to think of a lot of them. But we had, of course, reading was very one of the main subjects, and that was one of the last things we'd do one evening before we dismissed the advanced class of in spelling. We'd line up across the back of on the rostrum we had there in the old schoolhouse, and of course we was very careful to get our toes right out to the edge, you know, and stand up straight, and to have the spelling lesson. That was a lesson for the day. Then the teacher would pronounce and we'd spell, and one man was up here at the head, a man or woman, and fell down to the foot of the class. Of course, there wasn't any small ones in that class, and more advanced. And if somebody misspell, why the next one would spell it, and he'd come up above, you see, work his way up to the head of the class. And then somebody always at the foot of the class, the poor speller, you see. But that'd be the last thing we do before we dismiss school in the evening. We'd have the spelling class. And then, of course, we had geography, Fry's Geography. It was a big flat book, so big. Had maps in it, of course, and pictures and so on. But that's what we found out where and what. Got our knowledge from Fry's Geography. Then we had state history, and I think we had a Fast and Maxwell state history that we studied there at Montana. And then we had U.S. history, Montgomery, I think. U.S. history, we had that, was a standard subject, of course. And then we had this Cutter's Physiology and Hygiene. And of course, in the study of that, we'd be interested. There was 10 laws of health to start with, and then we learned different parts of the body, and the names of the bones of the body, and we had a skeleton picture there, you see, we worked from, and then the various things that would go with the hygiene and the physiology. And that was, of course, a standard subject. And we had, of course, the arithmetic. We had Ray's third arithmetic. And it started out with very rudiments of problems of various kinds, and we had to learn, of course, and that was the standard in the school. We would learn the tables, and the table would say 1 plus 1 equals 2, 2 plus 2 equals 4. We run down to 12, and we had the table for addition, and a table for subtraction, and a table for multiplication, and we had a table for division. And we had to learn the table up to 12, like 12 times 12, 144, you see. That would be the last one on the 12 scale, you see. And we had to memorize that, and we did. And I used to be like, you run over them like that. And then, of course, we started. First thing we learned was addition, and then we learned subtraction. Of course, and then that made addition and subtraction. Then multiplication, and then division. And of course, then we went into higher figures. And we had longitude and time. That was an interesting thing to me. When it's so-and-so here, well, when it's 12 o'clock here, what time is it over yonder someplace? And we had to learn that. That was an arithmetic, of course. And Then we learned fractions and interest and partial payments and cube root, square root, clear to the end of raised arithmetic. And if it was just an ordinary school, we come out with fair knowledge, general knowledge of.
I'm sure.
Of course, there's other subjects too that we learned besides that. Well, of course, finally we had to take agriculture, you see, and had a book on agriculture. And I think, and I've been trying to think, but I think when I took examination to teach, I think there was 12 subjects we had to pass on.